Good evening and welcome to the Minions of the Zoo. I'm your host and keeper of the Hairy Channel, and with me tonight are minions DrFunctional.
That was good timing. I just came back.
Good timing on your part.
Yeah.
SkepTock.
Hi, everybody.
And our special guest tonight, Jack Gunski.
Who's that?
Well, I don't know who that is. It just says,
special.
I am not. Yeah, he's short. He arrived on the short bus. We've been keeping him in the green room.
I'm just here by mistake. I don't know where I am right now.
Yeah, I wanted to test
our
the
president.
wanted to test the transient response of my new stereo, so I just started grabbing homeless people and bringing them in and asking them what they thought. Do we still
to have
call
you on
homeless
again,
people
Bill.
transients, or is that just back like from the hobo days? Because it seems like the homeless don't move around quite so much anymore, except for the one guy who's actually trying to make money, who has like the bicycle with 8,000 aluminum cans just like on it. You know, that guy?
I don't know. Transient sounds like the George Carlin soft language version of hobo.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know what homelessness looks like for most of you people. I'm thinking for Skep, it's not really that big a problem. And for Functional, all of the smart homeless people went to hang out on Sora's front lawn. And you've probably got some, but here in California, we've got a quarter of the nation's homeless. And they're all just hanging out, enjoying benefits. And yeah, it's complicated, but there's just so damn many of them. That's why we keep talking about it all the time, because it, you know, just on the way here to set up the show, how many homeless encampments did I pass? Too damn many. What were you going to say, Functional?
Oh no, my city's falling to shit. So we made the push to decriminalize drugs, like all kind of drugs, which I'm for. But then the retards took it a step further, a couple steps further, start opening safe injection sites like they have in BC, because that always works. And we have about a third of our nation's homeless here in Toronto. Because I personally believe that I don't think somebody being caught with a little bit of heroin or cocaine or whatever should have their lives ruined and be thrown into jail with like violent criminals, because it seems to exacerbate the problem. And if people, okay, I didn't know if you got that.
Well, this is you basically posted this in Discord right before the show, so I'll just leave it up for a moment before we actually talk about it. Go ahead and finish your thought. Yeah.
Sorry, folks. I'm a little slow. I'm a little tired.
Yeah.
Bear with me.
Brain hard, I know.
Can I just quickly say that I have lived in New Hampshire for my whole life. I haven't seen a homeless encampment since I was in Boston during Occupy Wall Street.
Yeah.
I'm going to see a lot of that in New Hampshire.
Well, when you go to take your illegal drugs, Jack, does the government give you paraphernalia to do it every time?
You know, I wish that they would, because they're getting so expensive these days.
No, they just give you a reason for drugs. They don't help you take them.
Yeah.
But I this is the wrong idea. This never works. This is not the argument that more rationally thinking people like myself advocate for.
Is everybody familiar with the experiment that the Swiss did in Zurich? They used to call it Needle Park. And this doesn't have anything to do with the Panic in Needle Park, the play. But Needle Park in Zurich, Switzerland, was a place where the addicts were shunted, and they were free to do as much heroin, die, live, die, do whatever, as long as they stayed in this one area of town. And there was a park at the center of it. And they called it Needle Park, and it was an absolute frickin' disaster. I mean, now part of that has to do with the national character of the Swiss, who like their law and order. But when that part of the city just went completely to shit, the worthies of Zurich flipped their lids, and they want to start shooting these guys. I don't know if you know this, but it's a requirement in Switzerland for every single adult male, to own and be able to demonstrate that he can operate a firearm.
Yep.
It's a requirement.
I like
it's a
that
legal
requirement.
requirement. It's kind of awesome.
I like the requirement where they have the hot Israeli chicks and they dress them up in their little soldier outfits and the big guns.
Well, Israel takes it that extra step and says every man and woman needs to have military service and know how to use a weapon.
I know. Well, I'm sort of introducing a topic with the form of a little joke. I mean, obviously, I'm not really a big fan of conscription, but I do think
basic training, you get a more attractive young population who you give them TikTok or Instagram, and that's where you get those hot Israeli chicks with guns.
Yeah, I mean, actually, the internet was a mistake, and I disavow all of it. But for the sake of humor, I do like to just bring that up. So the homeless issue, maybe I think about it a little differently. I don't care if people want to use drugs and throw their life away.
Yep.
What I do care about is when they break into your house and start stealing your stuff to finance their drug habit. That I care about a lot. And my sympathy is precisely zero. I don't care. I don't care about restorative justice. I don't care about your reasoning. I don't care about who touched you in the wrong place as a kid. I don't care. Once you start breaking the law and culminating in actually killing people, injuring them, my sympathy drops to zero at that point. I just don't care. If somebody comes before they hit the point where that's going on, I do think that having programs to help people get off of drugs is probably in everybody's interest. Okay. Yeah. Everybody's interest. I'm fine with that. But once you start killing people, then telling me your sob story about your childhood, don't care. Don't care at all.
That's the Portugal model. Like cops, if they find you with drugs, they will talk to you and they say, do you want help? We can take you to a facility. They'll help you get clean. No? Yeah. Okay. Have at it. If they break the law.
Maybe
and possession is not a crime down there anymore, and that is where what I look is sort of the gold standard of what you were just saying. I don't care what you do, I really don't, but once you cross a certain line, all bets are off. You're going to jail. You do not have the right to impose yourself on the people, to steal their stuff, to threaten them, whatever. You don't have that right. But you do have the right to, if you want to have something in your pocket and you're going to go do it and whatever.
What if you're stealing from people who owe you reparations?
Yeah.
Well, then
that's just the way. Yeah, it does. It adds a whole new dimension to it. But
it really does.
I'm talking to Functional and Jack a little more about this, because the thing about Skep is Skep and I are pretty much almost in lockstep.
Yeah.
I mean, I think in a lot of ways, Skep and I are almost interchangeable on this particular topic. So you sort of here I'm going to channel Skep a little bit for the libertarian angle. Beyond the obvious, you shouldn't hurt people. I think Adam Carolla has sort of a persistent theme that he brings up when he talks about these kinds of people. And it's much more obvious when you live in a place like California. Functional's going to get it. Okay. Is part of what annoys people isn't just stepping over people and piles of feces and all of the stuff that comes with like a homeless problem in a downtown area. It's the fact that there are two sets of rules. There's a set of rules for law-abiding people, and then there's a set of rules for people who choose to just not participate in society. Now, the example that he gives, is he was talking to Bill Maher before he sort of started becoming a little more moderate. One of the wake-up moments for Bill Maher in California was he just wanted to put some solar panels on a shed that had a pump, for this on his land. Just a water pump. He just wanted to put some solar panels up there. It took him 2 freaking years to get the permits to do basically nothing. Skep could go to the store, grab a couple 100-watt solar panels, at the end of a weekend, he'd have a nice decorative fountain with lights, the whole deal.
You're not kidding.
But Bill Maher, 2 years just to do basically nothing. And if I tried to open a restaurant, I would have to jump through all these hoops. I would have to jump through all these hoops to satisfy something. But if some, person, some homeless person wants to basically just sell hot dogs outside of a sports event or something, they're just going to leave them alone because the rules that we all have to follow that just drive us nuts don't apply to these people. Well, I have one other point. No, don't, never mind. I promise I'm getting to you because I'm setting this up for you, Skep. My issue with a lot of this is like, it's the taking up of space. If I wanted to go to a national forest and build a cabin with no permits and just stake out my little plot of land, they would tear that thing down, kick me out, and fine me tens of thousands of dollars. But, if some homeless person wants to just claim a piece of prime real estate on one of the most beautiful beaches in the world, they totally can.
Mm-hmm. Bingo.
Yeah, I mean...
that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, as a libertarian, I know, Skep, you and I kind of want the government just to kind of get off our dick most of the time.
The way that I find it illuminating to examine it this way.
Okay.
Heinlein's most basic rule, the most fundamental right a human being has. Okay, any Robert A. Heinlein fans know this answer from the notebooks of Lazarus Long. It is that humans have the basic right to go to hell in any way they please, as long as they don't get in anybody else's way.
Amen.
That is the fundament. That is the foundation of libertarianism. It really is, if you think about it. We don't care what you do if you're not hurting anybody else. We really don't. Okay, and that's a fundamental thing that delinks in some way individuals from one another, and all these phony lateral relationship responsibilities people feel toward causes or other people or qualities of other people. All these linkages dissolve when you just say, no, I'm going to live and let live. I'm going to live and let live. I'm not going to say to this group of people, you need to start behaving this way, control your language this way, not use this word, blah, blah. No. You all do whatever you want. Just don't get in my way. That's easy. Easy peasy.
And that's been the foundation of the Canadian Constitution in its spirit since its inception. However, since
they've really followed through. They've really followed through.
Here's the thing, Skep. Since the 80s, they've been tacking on, here's Aboriginal stuff, and here's POC stuff, and here's this stuff. And it's like, that has nothing to do with our Constitution. What are you doing? It was basically a live and let live policy unless you transgress into against somebody or against the law.
I think Trudeau is becoming a de facto dictator.
Oh yeah, I mean that was we saw that play out multiple times, but most notably with the Tucker.
I don't think you're going to be able to unelect him.
We'll see.
Yeah, just the tip of the fascism. That's all it's going to be. Trust me.
I'd like to know where you guys fall on the just simple possession. Do you believe it should be a crime that people should be locked up for? I'm guessing not.
Well, Jack, I think, is trying to interject a point. Go ahead, Jack, and then let's do functionals. No, it's okay. It's cool. You go ahead, and then let's consider functionals question.
Well, I have a few points. First of all, I think that we're perhaps we need an additional perspective on the whole homeless encampment thing, because it's starting to kind of turn into like the Mouse Utopia experiment over in California, where we have a group of people who are being provided by the government with basically endless resources and simultaneously no real purpose for living. And so ultimately it's just kind of like
Mouse Utopia. That's exactly what that is, right?
Yeah.
So it's really interesting, I think, from that perspective, because it's kind of unfolding in the exact same way.
Say hi to Sora, Jack.
Hi, Sora. The second thought is I work in New Hampshire, and I can tell you that the problem with regulation, over-regulation, seems to be exclusive to cities, because the closer you get to a city, the worse it gets. And it is getting to the point where, and the thing is, I am I'm a civil engineer by trade, so I know about the construction related permits. So I can tell you from personal experience just how bad that sort of solar panel thing is. It is it's insane. And God forbid if you live in like a historical district, you can't even replace your roof without bringing it in front of a committee.
Yeah.
It's insane. And the thing is that a lot of people, they want their little piece of land where they can put up a barn or put up like a little workshop somewhere, but you can't do that anymore. And the bigger problem.
You just said something, Jack. I just feel compelled to interrupt.
Oh.
You just said something really important. You know, when you have something like a permit process to do a roof, if I want to fix my roof, I call Lawnsmith Roofing. They come over and fix my roof, and I deal with my insurance, right? It's nothing. If I want to change my roof, if I want to change my chimney, I just go up there. I can paint it. I can change it. I can build up I do whatever I want. The cost that a permitting process adds to this prevents this dynamic roof. I know something about the roofing business. I've done a lot of database work in the roofing business. Roofing business is extremely dynamic, and in places where there's low permitting, the process of getting a roof put on is so much less expensive, because one of the chief elements of cost for a roofing company is time. Anything that takes time screws them. Okay, because they have to pay those totally legal immigrants who they hire to just to hang out. Otherwise, they just vanish. They just vanish into the economy.
That is not exclusive to the roofing business. It is.
No, I'm just saying it's a great example of something that has
very
application in many different places. You're absolutely right. But
well, yeah,
you pointed that out, and I wanted you to expand on that point that way.
Yeah, it's endemic in the entire construction industry. Permitting and you want to know what else? It doesn't do a goddamn thing.
Oh, it's a full employment process for the mediocre, Jack.
I've been saying for years now that the only difference between a permitted project and an unpermitted project is three trees worth of paper. That's the only difference. Nothing changes. It's just that the government, including especially in this case the local government, wants its cut, and they want to have their little power trip. They want to be able to walk all over your little plans and put in infrastructure that is totally unnecessary and will be basically dismantled within the year, if for no other reason through sheer neglect. They'll be like, oh, put in this drainage structure. Well, the drainage structure isn't going to be maintained. You know it's not going to be maintained because they never are. And as a result, you're just making some rando on the street pay an extra 10 grand for a system that's going to do nothing.
Except maybe channel things into the aquifer that you don't want there.
Yeah, no,
some of these water reclamation things are just kind of insane. It's like I do think we should do a better job of capturing rainwater. I've said it before. However, that doesn't mean that you necessarily want to capture the water coming off of a golf course where they use a lot of fertilizers, et cetera, et cetera. You know, you can end up with doing more harm than good with some of these sort of things. I mean, standards are good, I suppose, but there's lots of ways standards can come about. They don't necessarily have to come from the government. Most networking stuff, most computer stuff sort of works with other computer stuff because of standards that aren't necessarily from the government. However, it's because the government insisted on certain standards existing before they would purchase, and they're the biggest purchaser there is, that caused some of these standards to come into existence. So
there are many drivers of those things. Yes.
Yeah, it used to be that if you bought a network card, you would have to actually pay for a proprietary set of software to make that network card work. And it would only really work with other network cards from the same manufacturer. It was a huge pain in the ass. Yeah. IBM Token Ring. They were token something. But
and can I just
it, the tokens would fall out. Anyway,
yeah.
just want to quickly respond to something said in chat.
Sure.
Assassin of the Gray asked, how is harvesting rainwater illegal in California? It's actually illegal in multiple parts of the West because water rights, it's a water rights issue.
It depends on, it's not a state thing, it's a regional thing, and it can depend on what's on your lease. It's the same kind of thing as other parts of the country where you may or may not have rights to the mineral rights on the stuff underneath your house too. Because you'd think in a perfect world, everything above my house all the way to space and everything below my house is mine and you can just leave me alone. Yeah. But the real estate law is way more complicated than that.
Well, yeah, and water rights are very weird.
Water rights law is a subject of law all to itself.
Yeah, it's different from in the west of Western U.S. than it is in the East. In the Western U.S., because it's so highly limited, the process is basically like, to summarize, whoever got there first gets the rights. Mm-hmm. So if I'm a little tiny farm, a little tiny 100-acre farm in the middle of nowhere, and I have been using X amount of gallons per day since the 1800s, or the farm has been using that much at least, because I wasn't alive then I would have rights to that amount of water from the local aquifer first, before, say, a huge bottling district that moved in after me. And and it's based upon the amount you use and basically the order that you get there. And so that is why you don't have rights to the rainwater. You can't harvest the rainwater because technically that is considered to be part of the general resource that everybody is pulling from. And whoever has the rights first gets the rights to that water.
Yeah, I think that would fall under like the most minimal basic protections that should be, there for, people. Because I don't like we see it playing out with the whole discussion in Congress about TikTok. I find TikTok to be a tool of evil. It's been built and maintained by an entity that wants to see us gone. And the conversation I have with retards on both sides of the aisle, they don't seem to understand that it's not this proposed bill is not about TikTok. It's about opening the doors to then over-regulating every other part of the internet. And that's the scary part. Because the people in power, when something new does come along, and there does need to sometimes be protections for some things, they tend to insidiously sneak little bits and pieces into their regulation or proposed regulation that they know down the line they can then take further liberties with to increase their power and increase the revenue stream that would be things like licensing and this and that they can get their grubby little hands on and then continue to control more and more. I think that food safety standards at a very sort of base level are a good thing. You want the restaurant you go to not poison you, but at the same time they don't need 900 regulations from Sunday to tell you every last little bit of method to prepare said food. Relating it to what I know.
That's absolutely true. In terms of government regulation, every time you get hit with one of those, do you accept this new user agreement thing, right? Where people nobody reads all of those. It's like 89 pages long. Nobody reads every single vowel of those things because we know that there are certain things that they're prohibited from doing by the law. I'm just trying to say the government is not completely useless. Having something like a uniform business code, which has been adopted by, I think, all 50 states, dramatically simplifies things because, like, the meaning of, well, who's responsible if something gets lost after it's shipped? You know, those kinds of questions, which come up in business a lot, are just sort of handled. So the government, in some ways, gives you a nice scaffolding upon which to build other things that just sort of standardizes a little bit. But the idea of banning TikTok, nah, I don't care. Parents just need to do a better job of managing their damn kids. I don't want the government to have the power to decide which social media they think is virtuous and, or I guess halal and haram. I'm just not interested in it.
But before we lose the topic completely, can I just bring up one more quick thing about regulating in terms of permitting?
Sure.
A lot of the language, from what I have seen, that goes into site plan application standards and subdivision plan standards, a lot of the language, the legal stuff, between each town seems to be copy pasted. And I think that going forward, that's going to be a massive problem because it's just small towns copying all of this legal jargon that nobody really understands and just pasting it directly into their own code. And it's a huge cause of over-regulation because these places do not need all of this regulation. They're just doing it because they think that it makes their town code appear more robust.
Spud gun. yeah, not really a page turner. But they're not allowed to, you know, slip in there something that says that's sort of akin to the legal thing that you sign if you're going to go into the Scientology Sea Org or flag or something like that, where you commit to what it was like a 3 billion year contract, some crazy thing. All right, so I'm reordering the show a little bit based on what people are talking about. So Jack, this actually is probably more germane to what you were just talking about. So let me reorganize things. New Jersey Environmental Agency accuses itself of harming bird habitats. A construction project meant to improve conditions for the American woodcock has worsened them for the barred owl and the red-shouldered hawk. A New Jersey state agency is accusing itself of violating its own regulations. I know, saying it destroyed land that it is home to rare owls and hawks while creating habitat for their kind of bird. At issue in the unusual bureaucratic conflict is the clearing of about 20 acres of swampy forest in a state-owned wildlife preserve in the southern part of the state as part of a project to improve conditions for the American woodcock, a common plump shorebird prized by hunters. I like that. Common plump shorebird. That does sound like we're talking about something else, doesn't it?
Shorebird habitat. That's a big no-no.
The state's Department of Environmental Protection,
common and plump.
Yeah, paid private contractors $200,000 for the job, which involved the removal of trees and bulldozing of stumps, according to public documents obtained by the nonprofit Jersey Conservation Foundation. By clearing the forest, yeah, I know. Basically destroyed habitat for the barred owls, which is threatened in New Jersey, and the red-shouldered hawk. Yeah, who could have seen this coming? It's as if you've got a complicated system, and you decide you're just going to say, we're the government and we're here to help. Poke, and then you stick your finger in there.
You changed that very sensitive, complicated system. You changed some major piece of it.
Yeah, barred owls rely on the undergrowth of dense woods for roosting during daytime and on large tree cavities for their nests, according to the University of Michigan.
But there's a lot of other stuff going on here, because when you change the significant fauna like that, you change a lot of other balances in the forest. They are extremely active part of the food chain, and it's the upward part of it. So that changes things for a lot of things when the government sticks its big banana in there and says, I'm here to help, and just, you know, well, you played yourselves, guys. You always do.
I must say, I'm I'm almost impressed at this level of stupidity. We researched into ourselves and found we did everything wrong is kind of the opposite of how it usually goes.
It's the old Pogo cartoon. We've met the enemy and he is us.
It's like, shouldn't you have done the research before implementing something? Like, that's what a rationally thinking individual would think, not the government, because
they have a book, they follow the book. They don't know where the book comes from. They don't have any evidence as to whether the book works, but it's what they have and it's what they're going to use. That's the thing about these codes. They don't really know how they work. The people who implement them don't actually know about any of the delicate balances at play in their own jurisdiction, in their own
they're not intelligent enough.
I can assure you that they do not care. There's only two reasons why people do this. One is to make money in a way that's less obnoxious than like being a barista or something. That's thing one. And the other is to try to get your bits wet. So the person who was helping the woodcock, you know, he's sitting there at a bar chatting up some female or female and male and saying, you know, I care about animals. And then the woman says, are they cute animals? And he says, they really are. They're very special and dear to me.
My plump woodcock?
You know, and then at the same bar, could be in the same bar on the other side, there's some guy going, you know, I'm fighting the man right now because the man is hurting these owls and things. And he said, are they cute owls? Yes, they are. They're really cute owls. Both of those guys just stood a chance of getting laid higher than they would have before. And they both get to take home paychecks. I don't think these people actually care beyond that. The system's working perfectly as intended. They don't care. They don't care if the government goes after itself. It doesn't make any difference. Everybody's getting their bits wet and everybody's getting paid. I'm very cynical.
Yeah,
sorry.
It's just another day at work. That's exactly what these guys came to work. Oh yeah, well, I look like they're.
Hey Fred, hey Joe.
Exactly.
Hey Ralph. Hey Joe.
I've seen tons of regulations saying how things should be. I've never seen any of these regulations reference relevant evidence. I've never seen a regulation that referenced evidence ever.
Yeah.
Why don't we reference evidence more?
That's overrated. You know, it could be hate facts.
Because we put people into these positions of power not because they're the right person for the job, because they have certain skills or they think better than most people, or they're more intelligent. We do it because they're popularity contests. They say the right things. They can garner enough support to lie, cheat, and steal their way into a cushy office chair down on in City Hall or what have you. And yeah, I just truly believe they're just too stupid or ignorant or whatever to be in these positions.
Yeah.
We see that play out at every level of government. Like it's redonkulous.
Owls are awesome, by the way. That's true.
Like why is Harry grinding away building servers for people when he should be, you know, in
saving
the
the
governor's
barred
seat?
owl?
No, I should be working on my beat poetry is what I should be doing.
Your lesbian slam poetry.
Lesbian slam. Really, I'm really leaning hard into that lesbian thing these days. Chicks, man.
Chicks.
Well, the lesbians need some help. They're being suppressed.
So, I have a few other things that I actually want to talk about before we run out of time. There was something. Okay, so this is kind of a big topic, and it's basically this. You see this picture? Now, this is a funny picture, right? Evil can exist without a mental disorder. And we've had a lot of conversations about, you know, the mass shooters. And I believe Functional said this, and I don't want this to seem like I'm going on a crusade against you, Functional. No. I think a lot of people believe this. But this whole notion, this whole DSM-5 thing of everybody being on the spectrum, and, you know, I hear people say, oh, I'm a little bit this, or I'm a little bit that, or I'm on the spectrum. Now, my definition of mental illness is, I think, maybe a little more classical and a little more stringent. When people like to believe, I think, this is just my opinion, that when somebody does something like that school shooter, the trans school shooter did the other day, that they must be mentally ill. I don't think that's actually the case, because to me, if they were mentally ill, we couldn't really hold them culpable for this terrible thing that they did. Genuinely mentally ill people, people who hear voices, can't distinguish right from wrong, you know, have there's illusions in their head. They literally cannot control themselves, are very, very rare. In my opinion, a lot of these people that are bad are just bad and deserve to be punished. And if you look at like World War II, you know, those people, the bad Germans, right? If a lot of us were born in that time, Jordan Peterson, among others, has made the point that most of us all want to think that we wouldn't be part of the bad people doing the bad things. But in reality, most people would. Most people go along to, go along to get along. Mm-hmm. That's what most people end up doing. It's not that there's something inherently evil about German people in the 1940s. It's just that a lot of people got swept up in this thing. And you know what? You need to be punished for your bad decisions that you make. It's not that the entire country of Germany suddenly came down with an actual mental illness that you could diagnose with the DSM-4. I think evil does exist inside people, and I think they do need to be punished. And I think it's I think that it makes us feel better because we like to say, well, we'd never do something like X, because we can say, well, this person's mentally ill and I'm not mentally ill. Sorry, it's a bit rambling, but you sort of see what I'm getting at. Yeah. It's kind of a hot button for me when people say that.
I have a question for you then.
Okay.
Does the entire country of Germany, or did the entire country of Germany, deserve to be punished for the events of World War II?
Because you mean collective punishment? Yeah.
Yeah, because the entire country participated. So presumably anyone who participated is guilty of committing an act of evil.
Well, the entire country wasn't pulled into the Nuremberg trials. Okay, so there's punishment and then there's punishment.
What percentage of World War II Germany were members of the Nazi Party, Jack?
That would have been really small.
Very
but even so, even if you weren't a member of the Nazi Party, your country was still in a war, and the war
guy comes up to your door.
That was evil.
Guy comes up to your door and says, "You're conscripted into the army. Come with me, or we're going to take you to a prison and execute you next week." You go into the army. I mean, there are different levels of culpability. It's not really an on or off switch. That's my objection to the question of collective guilt. Is that there are such varying degrees of guilt among different groups of people and different individuals within the population that an average doesn't tell you anything. It's not instructive. It's not revelatory is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, then let's forget about collective guilt. Let's say that you got every single person who volunteered to participate in this war. Are they all guilty of the same thing? They did not necessarily know that all the specifics. I mean, obviously, after the war ended, Germany had to learn about what was going on in concentration camps, but there was certainly knowledge, I'm sure, of certain things that were going on at the time, that there had to be some sort of general awareness of.
I'm more concerned with the really baddest of the bad, right? Yeah. That's sort of what I'm worried about. Like I said, the school shooter types. You remember Columbine, right, Jack? The OG school shooter thing.
Yeah,
I remember this.
Golden Harris.
They had the trench coat mafia. That's what they called themselves, and they were basically these two nerds, loser nerd dweebs, who just kind of got swirlied a bunch of times and had a pretty shitty time in high school. And I remember people saying, I can't understand why these kids would do what they did. And I think about the kind of stuff I saw in high school and what happened to some people, luckily, who weren't me. And I'm like, I can absolutely understand how there might be losers in high school who might just snap someday and decide to just do what they did. Not justifying it. I'm just saying, I don't think that mental illness is the deal, because honestly, you can't really hold mentally ill people responsible for the bad things they do. And I want to hold these people responsible for the bad things that they do.
Well, I mean, oh, sorry.
I think
You know.
it has to be boiled down to like the individual. It's personal accountability, and like Poppy says, like insane people should still be punished for crimes. Yeah, I don't care how wrongly wired you are. If you do commit a heinous act like that, that should be secondary to the recourse that we take as a society to punish and let it be known to anybody else who might try that thing, mental illness or not, or whatever varying degrees of mental illness, you're still punished. And when it came to something like Columbine, me and some of my friends were punished for their actions in another country just because we looked a certain way. And that's not right, because those individuals perpetrated a heinous act. We did not. We shared a similar aesthetic. We were similar kind of people, geeky nerds in school who were kind of bullied and whatever. But there was never the even thought that, hey, we should arm ourselves and like take these motherfuckers out. It was like, no.
Yeah, well, it's not something that people talk about quite as much, sort of the whole Lord of the Flies type of thing. People commonly talk about, especially religious people, how, without like a deity, you can't have morality, right? And somehow that's the anchor. That's the anchor for this sort of stuff. And they say, well, morality isn't situational. Kind of is, because I totally understand why people might do a lot of things they do in order to feed their family. There was a lot of starvation in Germany during those last few years of World War II amongst the population. And there were a lot of people that were just maybe going along with the PR, but they might have been basically quiet quitting the whole time, dragging their feet. It's really hard to assess these big groups of people. But I do think that ethics are kind of situational. There are things that you would do in a survival situation that you might not do when things are civilized and times are good. And I don't necessarily see that as bad. That's just the things that your ancestors did to make sure that you actually are alive today. To my mind, there's a lot of morality in survival.
Yeah, and that's why I'm in favor of, a very minimal, but the existence of social safety net, however that plays out, but to sort of lessen that blow that wouldn't push somebody over the edge to, say, transgress or harm the other individual just to survive. We're talking a very specific case in this sort of scenario. And I think that can help. But personally, I would rather the community come together and do that. And we see that kind of playing out with the dissolution of family values. It used to be that, yes, your children would leave the nest, they'd go make a life for themselves, but they'd come back to take care of you because, there comes a point in every person's life where they can't keep up with life anymore. And it was the family who would come together to help that person. Now everybody's just sort of wipes their hands of it, abdicates that responsibility to the public, the government. And I think that in itself is something we don't instill into people, to just be kind to one another, especially in your own units.
Yeah, well, I was talking to Geodes about this. I don't know if he's in chat or not. And I was actually recommending that he might want to look at Ryan Holiday's book, one of his books on Stoicism, as I just thought he might find it to be an interesting read. Ryan Holiday brings up an interesting point about sort of the power of no. So whenever somebody asks you to do something, and then you say yes, but you sort of don't want to, every yes that you give to somebody that you don't want to give is basically a no to somebody else. Somebody comes up to you and says, give me $100 to save the woodcock, right? And you give them $100. That's $100 that you can't put in your kid's college fund.
Or you can't spend on saving the barred owl.
Exactly, but everything is a trade-off, you know. And even I didn't mean to sound super submissive of religious morality, because I think a lot of people hear that stuff and we keep the stuff that makes sense, the good stuff, you know, like not running around indiscriminately killing people. That sounds good, but I'm going to wear whatever mixed fibers I want. You know, there's stuff in Leviticus that's just, from our 21st century eyes, just stupid. If you want to do that, that's fine. I'm not going to. I'm going to eat all the shellfish I want. So we pick and choose which parts work. And there's a lot of good stuff in there that kind of has stood the test of time. But at the same time, if the going gets tough, I can't imagine that a loving God would want you to, say, sacrifice yourself and then bring grief and pain and suffering to your family and the people you're supposed to care for. Yeah, you can defend yourself. It doesn't matter that it doesn't say thou shalt not kill. You can actually defend yourself. Ethics are situational, even in the context of most religious doctrine.
I've been saying this for years. I've been saying for years, what is wrong with situation ethics? Aren't ethics always situational?
Ethics are always situational.
I have
even in
said
the Bible,
this
they
for
are.
30 years.
Yeah. Even in the Bible, they are, and I'm sure that that's
Absolutely.
true in a lot of other books too.
How many?
Sorry, I don't know how we got on
commandments-
this topic.
No. But how many commandments in the Bible are given in the formula? You can do this when blah 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 is like this, and blah 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 is like this. I mean, you know, there are times when you can do things, and times when that thing is not appropriate. When it is,
And they usually give you some kind of allegory to go along with it.
and that happens to be true of killing.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think Jack was trying to squeeze in.
No, I was just gonna say, if I sounded dismissive of religious related ethics, it's only because religious people seem to be constantly dismissive of everybody else's ethics in the world, regardless of how valid they are.
Well, one thing, Jack, you might want to look at is there is a difference between morals and ethics.
Yeah,
and that's one of those things you might want to look into, because when you talk about religion, typically you're referring more to moral law and less to ethics. But that is a conversation for another time. Pop-Tart says, my mom was in a prison for people with mental issues. They are there for a reason. They should still have follow laws. Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes people have mental illness and it is not really relevant to the crime that they've committed, right? That's another thing. So if somebody has some sort of mental impairment, even that by itself may not be sufficient for them to be not punished for something that they do that's wrong.
Different path of rehabilitation than, like, we just colloquially, evil people who commit evil acts. People who definitely have something. We've been able to do, we still don't know anything, but we do know enough that we can at least try to identify some of these things and try to work with them to give them a path to pardon the phrase, but salvation, to be reintegrated into society and be a fully functional person again without reoffending.
See, I'm actually okay with deterrence. See, I do think rehabilitation makes some case in sometimes. I mean, obviously it's preferable to just housing people for no reason. I'm on board with that. But I do like a good, healthy dose of deterrence. And when you talk about crimes for which the person can never be made whole, like capital crimes, I don't care about rehabilitation. I really don't. I just want people who've proven themselves capable of doing those kinds of things to be kept the hell away from the rest of us.
Mm-hmm. But like in Poppy's case, like, it's a specialized facility in which we can better deal with, whether there's rehabilitation or not, which we can better deal with people who just shouldn't be in a general population prison like that, because it's not the same. They might generally be okay, but there's something wrong where they did do something to transgress against the law, and that facility is better handled to deal with those sorts of things. I'm trying to speak very generally because, it all boils down to the individual case. Whereas, again, somebody who's, air quotes, evil, you throw them in prison and lock. I don't care about them anymore.
Yeah.
You've transgressed so far that I don't care about your rehabilitation. If and if the sliver of chance that there ever could be one with that type of person, they're entirely selfish.
Yep. Well, speaking of this,
Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes loses her latest bid to avoid starting her prison sentence, which the judge ordered will commence on April 27th. Holmes is set to serve 11 years in prison for defrauding investors and until now has been free on bail during her appeals process. Holmes can still appeal the federal court in San Francisco, but the judge ruled that it will have to be while she's behind bars.
yeah, bummer.
Her prison sentence.
But yeah,
Maybe
I
she'll
know
get
that.
a transsexual roommate.
Yeah. Well, I really
Exciting
wanted to
times.
put to if I hadn't I've actually done 70 billable hours this week, Skep, ending in a 17-hour day on Friday. I got to see all 3 shifts of security. That's how much fun I was having.
I know exactly that. I've done that. I know exactly. I've spent 24 hours in the place. Anyway, go on.
So, I mean, what I really wanted to do was come up with a fake ad and say we actually finally got a sponsor, and it was going to be a new book by Martha Stewart on like how to do crafts in minimum security prison. But I didn't have time to make the to make the graphic for it.
What happened to her anyway?
Martha Stewart, she's hanging out with Snoop Dogg now.
Oh,
Yeah, she got street cred, so
She got
that
street
makes
cred.
sense.
Yeah. You get prison married, speaking of situational ethics.
she only spent like a year and a half in that thing, and then she was released, and it was a slap on the wrist for doing some really bad harm to people.
Yeah, my
financial-
waifu is denied. She's not my waifu. She's my nemesis. She's like the apex predator to me. I'm just like one of those little mice in the middle of a field looking around trying to see if something's going to swoop down from the sky and kill me. And she's that thing. But I'm going to feel much better about her being out of Gen Pop for a while. I'm not going to be surprised if she tries to make a run for it. In Discord, I posted a picture of OJ's white Bronco.
I saw that.
I
you might
just
be right, Harry.
man, I don't know. I think there's a much greater than 0 chance that she is not going to try to pull something rather than go to jail.
We know she's a fantasist. We know that she is a fantasist, and fantasists try these boneheaded escape plans. I mean, you got to believe that. Every device that there is to track somebody like that is on her to make sure she doesn't do that. I'm sure she surrendered her passport and the like. But those things can be purchased. I used to know where you could purchase false IDs, really good ones, in Oakland, California. That's not important right now. Anyway.
For some reason, I just thought of... I have a book of historical Onion headlines, and during the... Watergate scandal, they featured a sort of fictional narrative wherein Nixon is arrested and then escapes from prison. Nixon escapes in the big headline.
And again, I kind of understand.
I
wouldn't want to go to prison either, even if I was a terrible person like Holmes. But so I can kind of understand it. But I mean, you would hope as the individual, as the law-abiding citizen of your, like you were saying, Harry, there should be some deterrence in that, like letting her roam around free. And clearly, she has resources that she very well could, and that's what, I don't understand why the judge has let this sort of play out how it has been, because they're basically saying, hey, it'd be a real shame if you just ran, but please show up for your court date on Sunday.
These are state charges, aren't they, Harry?
I thought it was federal.
Hang on.
I'm not sure it particularly matters, except you're wondering what quality of prison she's going to get.
No, and also there's no parole in the federal system. If she's doing 11 years in California, she will do about 2 years. That's seriously true. That is what will happen.
Well, this is in San Jose, and I think it's at the federal courthouse. I'm pretty sure it's federal.
It is federal. It is.
Well, if it's federal,
two counts of wire fraud and 2 counts of conspiracy to commit
fraud.
Oh,
it's wire fraud. Okay.
Federal offense.
Then that means that she does 85%, and that's with a perfect record, no infractions.
Yeah.
That's which almost nobody does, and usually you serve about 90% of your sentence. So she could actually spend 10 years in jail. God, and the other thing is, it's in the federal system. I don't know if they would send her to a country club or not.
She's not really a threat to anybody at this point. So, I mean, minimum security is probably appropriate. It's very much a white collar, non-violent, yada, yada, yada. And the only person she can really hurt is me. So it's fine.
And most women's prisons are less than, as far as that kind of spirit of things go, except for the very, very bad ones, which are just as bad as the male prisons.
Everything I know about about rich people in minimum security women's prisons, I learned from Martha Stewart, and she'll be fine.
Yeah.
Assuming she doesn't do something stupid like try to run, because that would mean she probably will not end up in a minimum security prison. She has a nice little calculus that she needs to do here.
Yeah.
It would be pretty easy to just leave and go to some country that doesn't have extradition with the United States and disappear.
Yeah. But anyway, another thing I've been thinking about as sort of an ongoing segment for the show is simply called, Am I the Asshole? Okay. And the answer is almost always going to be yes. This is something
you need to ask. Yes.
That I've been meaning to talk about for a long time, which is I hate these stupid YouTube family channels. These like the XYZ family, because inevitably, to keep up with the YouTube algorithm, they not only produce crap, but they produce really bad crap. That's just sort of this formulaic stuff to sort of generate clicks. And I absolutely despise them. So here's an example of something that I hate. And I know the answer. The answer is almost always yes, I am the asshole. And I'm going to just kill the sound. If I can remember how to kill the sound. Boomer. Then she had her first kid at 18. Now he gets to be a young grandpa. It's like, your dancing sucks. I hate you. I hate everything about this. And there's like a whole industry. This isn't just this is just one. This is one of hundreds of these stupid accounts that they have. Does anybody actually enjoy this content?
Yes. Not me, but
okay.
It just makes me wonder why God bothered with humans.
It's kind of like, have you ever seen musical react channels?
Yes.
Where you have, let's be honest, black people listening to old white people music and them reacting.
Pink Floyd, right.
Yeah. And them reacting like, oh, this is so amazing. Yeah. Bullshit. You don't think it's amazing. You just need to...
You just clicks. Yeah.
You need to validate these people's opinions because that is what generates the traffic.
Okay, Jack, I've got another example for you. So tell me, is this good or bad content? Because you're the person I look to for advice on what's good and bad content. Oh no, the baby, it's flying away with balloons. 1.4 million thumbs up for this thing. 1.4 million thumbs up for whatever this is supposed to be.
That's how they can afford that house.
I think I'm gonna.
Oh no, the baby.
You know what this is? This is like the degradation of America's Funniest Home Videos.
This is your mouse utopia, is what this is.
Yes,
a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Stupid.
Like this is when America's Funniest Home Videos, everyone was in on it, and so they just started making their own fake bull crap to put on the show, and they couldn't get any real content for that show anymore, and it was just terrible. That's what this is.
We all kind of look at this as kind of stupid and silly, but it's still somewhat just wholesome, as opposed to some of the other stuff that's out there that is really kind of just like, ugh. But still gets, 1.5 million upvotes and 5 million views.
Oh, Sora's still with us. I wasn't going to show this, but I think Sora's going to enjoy this. We have to. This one's for you, Sora.
This one's for you, kid.
Being caught on camera incredibly, the driver survived this. Eyewitness News reporter Rob Hayes is live with the story.
Oh no. We don't care about you. We just want to see the video.
Tired while driving. It's another to get tired.
Oh!
I've been in a truck like that white truck that had the tire fly off. It is.
What is that? It
looks like an F-150 or something.
What is it?
It probably looks like an F-150 or something, right?
It's another way for Truckcoon to isekai you into another world.
Is this a real video?
This is a real video. Here, let's look at it again.
It looks like it was in a Matrix movie.
That's insane.
Hey, maybe I could change the speed. Let's see, playback speed.
Where did this happen?
California.
Of course.
LA freeway.
Watch out for that tire.
Jesus. Look at that. Wow, that's like Michael Jordan levels of reach. Whew.
Hope that wasn't filled with children.
I knew Sora would enjoy that.
They did say in the video that the people in there survived, whatever there was.
No, they said the driver survived.
That's incidental to my enjoyment. I suppose I can enjoy it just a little bit more, knowing that thanks, Susan. No people were actually killed in this, so please don't hurt us.
I have to believe that he was hurt though in that.
Oh yeah,
he would have to be injured. That's a pretty bad crash.
Yeah,
I mean, that's.
And that guy's
then it came back for
brake rotor.
Double tap. Did you see that tire? Came back for the double tap. What?
Yeah. That's just what I was about to say. Is that the double tap? Now watch. Keep watching. It comes back. Cowabunga.
This
looks.
You'll take it and like it.
I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. It looks fake to me.
Now, I've been in a situation like that white truck where the tire just came off and went flying down the street. But it was luckily like 4 o'clock in the morning. Nobody else was there, because one of the first things that when we kind of collected ourselves, I kind of said, "Oh, thank God nobody else was out here," because you see that tire fly down the road, it would have killed somebody.
Yeah, but it didn't. So Susan,
that's just amazing. That is just, that had to take on aerodynamic characteristics. That's what happened. When that thing got a little elevation, it turned it into a pretty efficient. It changed the efficiency of the airfoil, and that's why it got lift.
That is the automotive equivalent of getting kicked in the groin. Is what that was.
It was, but you actually see it lift off, and you can see the the effect. That was just absolutely remarkable. It's one of the most remarkable things I think I've seen maybe ever.
It's like you're watching kinetic energy turn into potential energy right in front of your very eyes, and then turn back into kinetic energy.
Right. What? Bam!
What's the kinetic energy what's the potential energy of a car being about 20 feet in the air? Oh, about the same as it going 65 miles an hour.
At the apex of a parabola.
Yeah. Yeah, anyway.
Use the parabolic arc down.
Be that as it may.
How many newtons of force? Oh, yeah, baby.
All right. So let's see what we're doing. We were putting together a show. Okay, sorry. Where were we? So this happened.
Crime being blamed for the closure of an enormous 65,000 square foot grocery store in San Francisco. Whole Foods is temporarily closing its downtown flagship store located in San Francisco's mid-market neighborhood just 1 year after it opened. The company says concerns about worker safety forced the shutdown.
The neighborhood has seen a spike in crime, including shoplifting and drug use. A local
wonder
lawmaker says more police staffing is needed to tackle quality
It's
of
a good
life
thing that
problems.
they're staying limber.
It was really just
Yeah, it's not. Well, they're basically the PR and the press release, and you should never really believe a press release, almost ever. I know I've been behind a few of them, and they were complete BS. Is that it was the worker safety of the people trying to go in and out of the store. I would suspect that shoplifting played a not insignificant role in this decision as well. But when you can't keep your flagship store open, that's a really bad sign. We're seeing a lot of these sort of closures. I also like the memes of where they show the stores where everything is locked up, and then somebody takes a picture of the sunscreen and shows that it's not locked up. Okay, I see what you're trying. I see what you're trying to do there.
I saw that meme too. I thought that was actually fairly clever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think white folks are more than capable of shoplifting. In fact, I can pretty much count on it.
Oh my god!
Yeah, because there's the deterrent. They are going to go to prison.
Yeah, I mean, there are plenty of terrible, poor, criminal white people that I'm more than happy to lock up. I just don't particularly care about the ratio. I just want criminals to go to jail. I don't care. That statue of justice needs to just keep the blindfold on and not know or care what the color of the person's skin is.
But we're starting to get to two different classes of law. We're getting the hate crime laws, and that's when a crime is committed against someone in a favored class, and then just the regular law that applies to the people in the disfavored class. And the penalties for breaking the law against a favored population are greater because it's considered a hate crime because it's bad to do something against them, and yet is proof of hate. Is proof of the hate. I'm serious. That is the way that the law seems to work.
I know. Hold on, Jack. I promise. I know your hand's up here. I just. Another Adam Carolla example, the beach. He said when he was a kid, there was a sign, and there may be like 3 things you weren't allowed to do at the beach. And then every year they've added another one. Yes. So now you go to the beach, and there's like 30 things you're not allowed to do. So if you're basically me, I go to the beach, start a fire, I'm going to get a ticket for hundreds of dollars. That's just what's going to happen. If I have a glass container on the beach, there's another ticket. I can be fined for all kinds of things. But if somebody builds a shanty town complete with dueling meth labs on the beach, then nothing happens to those people.
You're not wrong.
Sorry. Go ahead, Jack.
No, I think it's really kind of annoying when people bring up the whole race issue when it comes to this sort of thing, because I think the only time the race issue is relevant is when you want to talk about addressing larger societal cultural problems. And the people who usually bring that sort of thing up, they're not really looking to do that. They're more like looking for like a nice little gotcha to shove into the face. They're either looking for a gotcha to shove into the face of their political enemies, like, hey, look at all the shoplifting black people, that or they're the actual what do you call them, the white, not supremacists, what's the nationalists who are
pick another group of douchebags, identitarian people, just annoying me.
They're
right,
just
exactly.
They're just douchebags. They're just being real douchebags.
Yep. People who don't think very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just disappointing to me. That's all.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Okay, so what were we doing? We were talking about this. Whole Foods Market. It's a problem. We've seen plenty of Walmarts closing and CVS is closing. There are a lot of different ways to make a business leave an area. You can not shop there, or you can
drive it out.
Drive it out. And there's a lot of ways you can do that. But this populist way of doing it seems really good. This is pretty awesome. Anyway,
I'm sorry if you hear squeaking. My cat's being very vocal.
No, it's fine.
By the way, that Whole Foods Market, I think that's not terribly far from where that fellow got stabbed. That tech executive got stabbed.
It's probably not too far from Paul Pelosi's Hammer Party, you know, so.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God.
There's a reason why I say we, the like Western world that's based on these laws had this vision, this meme of Lady Justice being blind, because you're not supposed to see these things. You're supposed to see the act and then respond accordingly. It doesn't matter if they're female or black or white or whatever. These immutable characteristics shouldn't come into play at all, unless, and this is just my personal opinion, unless it's a child, a minor, then there should be some special consideration. But anything else, no, I don't care. I don't care what your skin color is, what religion you ascribe to. I don't care about any of it. You did the crime, you're doing the time. That's it.
Don't do it. What was the name of that theme song from Brett again? It was like, keep your eye on the sparrow. Was that it? We talked about this a few weeks ago. Skep.
I'm sorry.
The theme song to Beretta, wasn't it keep your eye on the sparrow? Don't do the crime if you can't do the time.
Right.
Don't do it.
That's right.
I love Sammy Davis's Jr. cover of that so much. Anyway. Yeah, I always tell people Sammy Davis Jr. was like the first television movie star that I liked when I was a little kid. I used to think Sammy Davis was totally cool, you know, because I was born racist or something. I don't know, whatever.
No, he's amazing talent.
Oh, he is.
Really
Sammy Davis Jr. was awesome.
Yeah,
for me it was Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder, but you know, just different times, right?
Well, I just, you know, as a little tiny kid, you know, when I first started to watch TV and realize, you know, what I was looking at and stuff, that was like the first star that I thought was cool. Like, hey, he's cool. I'd love to meet Sammy Davis Jr. Yeah, they did. It was really just a couple dinosaurs doing shadow puppets with a candle in it, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's the same thing. Let's see, what were we going to do here? I know I'm forgetting something. Toronto hospitals, New Jersey.
Can we have a palate cleanser?
Am I the asshole? Well, Am I the asshole was sort of a palate cleanser.
Oh, okay. It was.
You know, back in Skep's time, their TV was watching the primordial muck swirl.
Okay, you want a palate cleanser? Fine. Here's one of the palate cleansers. I'll do it early. So I've had a theory about Spanish TV for like the longest time that it usually takes no more than about a minute for dancing to break out. And I found a clip from Spanish TV that I think has all of the elements wrapped up into one. It's like a perfect little snapshot of Spanish TV. And I think this falls in the guilty pleasure category. This is what all Spanish TV is like in Harry's head. All they need is a guy in a bee costume and it would be complete, but they still, it's pretty close. Yeah, so this is Spanish TV, you know, just get everyone lined up. There's a guy dressed up as a clown for some reason, I'm not really sure why. And then, you know, they do this, and then we have we don't want to pay for the music, so we change it every 10 seconds. You know, and then there's more dancing.
Sounds like they haven't given up on disco.
Yeah, I still don't get, yeah, and then we have some special effects. I mean, this is, I mean, except for telenovelas, this is what it all looks like.
This is the news.
Yeah, this is the news. They just had to have a dance break. It's, you see, every now and then I have to do something like get my car fixed, and you go to someplace like the tire shop, and then you sit on these little seats that are like, you know, like bus station grade seats, and they'll have a TV set up. And the TV in California will only play one of two things. It'll either be like The View or Drew Barrymore's stupid talk show, or Spanish TV. And you hope that it's Spanish TV because it's way better. They had this show I saw once when I was stuck at a tire store for 2 hours, which is like El Gordo y la Flaca. And it basically is the fat man and the skinny woman. And it was just this chat show where people would sit around on sofas and just start dancing occasionally, just called El Gordo y la Flaca.
I love that Spanish has a one-word expression for a skinny woman.
Yeah.
Flaca. That's awesome.
Yeah. And the guy, as I'm watching, I do not speak Spanish at all because I'm a dick and I don't want to. That's my main reason for not speaking Spanish.
I have to, Dan.
But I hear this going on, and then like the fat guy just kind of snapped his finger and just goes flaca, just sort of summoned her.
Where's skinny bitch?
I really actually do kind of enjoy Mexican television. I really do. I mean, the weather is just so much more entertaining, when you've got Jeanette Garcia doing it. I mean, man, Mexico, I'm surprised you guys get anything done. I'm just kidding. But
is it not more correct, instead of saying Mexican or Spanish, is not more correct? Shouldn't you be saying Latinx?
Latinx, yeah.
Harry
just
White.
call it Hispanic.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I feel as though certain other countries have the right idea about what television should be, and that is just a pure mechanism for entertainment.
Yeah, it's like all Benny Hill reruns or Bumblebee Man.
Entertain at any cost.
Have some fun and don't take yourself too seriously. Yeah.
Why can't we do that here? There's nothing good on TV.
You know the answer to that. These institutions have been infiltrated and are being used as weapons, basically, without getting too far into it.
Well, this channel is actually pretty amazing. It's all just
that first one.
It's all just like Mexican weather women. This is some good content. This is some good content here. This is much better than those stupid family things. She's telling you about the weather and stuff. But anyway, this is probably why my YouTube feed is always so screwed up. YouTube never can quite figure out exactly what I want, except occasionally they figure out exactly what I want. Susan. Oh, I miss Susan already.
Lots of women
Anyway.
named Susie in front of green screens and short tops.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. Call me old fashioned, but I actually kind of like it when they have that little symbol that says like I'm an actual meteorologist and just have the boring dude. I mean, I'm okay with weather being boring but full of facts.
That's kind of the way I like it.
Yeah.
That's how I like all my news, really. Just give
Yeah.
me facts.
A windblown Jim Cantori appears.
I wish we had like the old
Precisely.
weather channel that just had like the quiet music in the background, the boring quiet music, and it just showed you like here's
Charts.
the 5-day forecast.
Yeah. Well, you saw. Okay. Well, let's move on to the next thing before it looks like we're just selling Mexican bikini stuff. Not that that would be a bad thing, mind you. So there was this BBC interview with Elon Musk, which we're not going to play in full. I think everybody knows what happened. This guy was talking about how there was all this sort of hate speech and hate content on Twitter after
Give me
he
an example.
took over, and he's like, just name one example. I think if you're not the richest guy in the world, that approach doesn't always work. I found in real life it tends just to make my liberal friends louder and more annoying.
Right. Well, if they just start shrieking and yelling slogans at you and accusations, then just I walk away from those conversations. I usually don't even have them anymore.
And do that in virtual
what happened
space
here?
as well.
What happened here was very interesting because, Elon Musk says, "Give me an example." Well, I don't really have one. What do you mean? You accuse me of hate speech and you can't provide one single example? Well, I don't use the platform. What you keep pleading ignorance of the platform as excuse for not having an example of why your accusation is your accusation. Basically told it and at the end
I think your
kinda
audio is
cutting out.
tanking, Skep.
I think-
sorry about that.
I think
That's okay.
Skep has been zapped from existence.
I don't know if it was your network or your position relative to the microphone. Try again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
You sound perfect now.
All right.
You lost your Joe-mentum, though.
Yeah. So by the end of the interview, he was ignoring the guy, and the guy was spluttering and trying to recover his feet and get some traction. And Elon Musk was just talking about whatever he wanted to talk about. It was just, he was contemptuous by the end of the interview, in my opinion, of this reporter. You know, the other thing is, how hard is it to be a little bit prepared? If I have an accusatory question, you know, I'm going to have some response for the most obvious follow-ups by the person I'm asking. I'm going to think that far down the pike. This guy is a professional for the BBC, and he couldn't think that far ahead, or he had too many other things to do where he couldn't prepare properly for his interview with Elon fucking Musk. Are you kidding me?
Skep, there is no professionals at the BBC. And B, I kind of have to correct you a little bit, because what led to this was the interviewers claim that this stuff was happening, the hate speech and all these other made up bullshit terms were happening directly to him. And then he pivoted, as when you described what happened, that's sort of how it played out.
Yeah.
Well, he needed standing.
When he said, "I don't use the platform," that was when he could just see, okay, then this is over.
Yeah. I saw an interesting take from Callum on the Lotus Eaters about this, because you have to remember, this guy asks a question: why does your platform have hate speech? And you have to kind of remember, this is not the first time this question has been posed. It gets posed to every single social media giant every single day in 1,000 different ways. Elon Musk is really the first person to actually push back against the premise of the question, because usually the answer is, we're doing everything we can to curb the hate speech problem on our platform. Some milquetoast bullcrap like that.
Yeah.
No one ever asked, like, what do you mean? So I think that's what really happened here, is the guy was basically just setting up a question for Elon to respond. We're doing everything we can about this. And instead Elon was just like, no, I'm actually going to think about this for a change.
He's not going to play their stupid games. Yeah.
Yeah. And the reporter was not prepared for that eventuality, simply because it's never happened before.
I'm not sure what to make of Callum from the Lotus Eaters.
Recently, I've noticed.
There's Callum right there. It's like, I'm getting like this sort of Amish turnip farmer kind of vibe from him. I'm not really sure what I'm looking at. Did any of you watch Clarkson's Farm?
Yes.
No.
Doesn't Callum remind you a little bit of Caleb?
That's why I laughed, because I knew exactly what you were talking about. Even though
some Amish TV show or something.
Clarkson's Farm is Jeremy Clarkson from Top Gear. He actually has a farm and was working it, and did a show where they covered. I mean, obviously they try to make it entertaining and focus on some things other than more than others, but it definitely had its serious moments about the plight of farmers. It's a pretty good show, and it's on Amazon for free. You might find it might take 2 or 3 episodes to sort of get into it, but it's definitely worth a watch, and not surprising that it was #1 on Amazon for a fair amount of time.
First of all, I will say, Skep, it does have things that will cater to the libertarian viewpoint. So
a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so it's worth watching on that basis alone. But also, you would think that a TV show about farming would be incredibly boring, but it's not.
Not to this boy.
It's funny. Jeremy Clarkson is very funny.
You don't know who you're talking to, Jack.
Okay.
Just really quick, I think one of his greatest acquisitions for the company has been Stelio. I think I think he's great. He's not kind of in some instances he doesn't have his head up his ass when it comes to the whole social interaction on social media like some of the other people tend to be. He's more just deals with the issue on its own, more removed from social media talking points. I just wanted to say that. I like Stelio. I really do.
Well, we haven't complained about fish for a while.
Oh, no.
Simon, thank you, Sandra and Lou. And this is a great one. Look at this. Thousands, if not millions of these things. They're called by-the-wind sailors, and they are stuck along the rocks here in Ventura County. A lot of the surfers, as you hear those waves crashing, they've been pointing them out in the background there. As you take a look at this, one of our viewers sent us this video. These organisms have been washing up on the shore by the thousands in Southern California.
What a pain in the ass. You know, you're trying to build your tent meth city on the beach, and suddenly all these little stupid jelly-like creatures start washing up.
I wonder where they're from.
Can you eat them?
I don't know, but here, take a look at these things.
Because of our recent stormy weather, beachgoers notice them north of Emma Wood State Beach here in Ventura County, plus Zuma, Manhattan, and Salt Creek beaches. They're called by-the-wind sailors. Why? Because they have sails that allow them to catch the wind and travel on ocean currents. The beautiful species are known as a colonial hydroid, but they are not true jellyfish, so we're learning a lot today. They're distinguished by a deep blue and purple color oval disc known as a float and a thin fin or a sail across the top.
Alrighty then. Okay.
What is it called again?
It's called a by-the-wind sailor.
But can you eat them, Harry?
I don't know.
I think you can definitely eat them. Whether or not they will poison you.
Oh, you mean sort of like, was it, I can't remember his name, the quippy English fantasy writer, you know, all mushrooms are edible, some only once.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
To answer my question, they're found all over the world in the open ocean in warmer climates.
Mm-hmm.
Can't see if they're edible though. I don't think so.
Just stay off my beach, you know, just stay out of my way. It's kind of like spiders. I don't particularly mind spiders as long as they're not in my house.
These things are so cool looking.
No, I have, on general principle, I have to hate them.
They sting. They sting and they capture small prey. They also harbor algal symbionts, giving mature specimens a greenish brown and even tint. So that's actually algae that gives them their color. I'm learning about them here.
Yep.
I'm on www.jellywatch.org.
Jellywatch. When you get tired of watching Mexican weather girls, you go to jellywatch.
You see these pictures here. It's amazing, amazing stuff.
So I have another. Let's see. Do we still have Sora?
Yep.
Okay, Sora's still here. So yes. So she'll like this. So I have to get this done before she falls asleep. Okay. So a male bald eagle that was okay. How do I? Here, I'll just let her talk.
Bald eagle adopting an eaglet at the World Bird Sanctuary in Valley Park. As Fox 2's Jordan Williams shows us, it is the first time it's ever happened in the bird sanctuary's nearly 50-year history.
Oh.
Murphy is sitting on the nesting platform.
At the World Bird Sanctuary Bald Eagle Enclosure in Valley Park, life consists of short flights,
sorry it's so small,
long stares into the distance. But this spring, a particular bald eagle named Murphy became a little paternal.
It was only a couple of weeks ago when Murphy started exhibiting some peculiar behavior in the back corner of his enclosure.
He made his nest there. This was his rock. That was his territory. Not willing to share.
Yep, you heard that right. Murphy started incubating a rock.
But he seems to have found one suited him for this situation.
Is it normal for male eagles to incubate eggs? I mean, I know it's normal for some.
I believe they share in the work, yes.
Yeah.
Well, because, you know, first he starts out trying to incubate a rock, and now I think that makes him an unfit parent. I'm not sure he should be trusted with an eaglet.
He's a bird brain. What do you expect?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is our national bird, right? And we thought maybe it was a step up from the turkey, but I'm not sure it's a big step.
Yeah.
And you know what? You guys are being bigots. That's a very fine rock.
Are we sure that a baby eagle is called an eaglet and not an eagle-y?
No, it's an eaglet.
Okay.
Not to be confused with an aglet.
Yeah, no, aglet is completely different. Has to do with shoes.
But actually, if you are interested in this, they do have all the typical zoo BS, where you can look at it on a webcam and stare at the baby eagle and watch the guy do the thing, and it's all so tiresome.
There should be just channels that have like the best of from those stupid like baby thing cams. Because you go to one of those baby thing cams and they're not doing anything or they're not even there. We're the best.
You should be able to donate $20 to poke them with a stick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's something that we probably should talk about, even though I kind of don't want to. But we will anyway. This whole Dylan Mulvaney thing with Bud Light and all the endorsements.
I don't want to. Boy, do I try.
People are talking about all this money that they've supposedly lost, and I looked at their stock price chart, and it really didn't seem all that terrible to me. I'm not sure I see. I mean, there seems to be plenty of anecdotal evidence that a lot of people are suddenly not buying their beer, but as with a lot of these sort of things, people seem to gravitate back to their normal preferences. I have a feeling in a year nobody's going to care about this story.
Yeah, no, it's a ideological boycott, and I haven't seen an ideological boycott that has lasted yet. The closest thing we've gotten I've seen so far is the what do you call it? The Colin Kaepernick thing. But that people are just starting to return to football, and this is not going to last very long. But what is
but you know what will last a long time though, Jack, will be the increased cost of capital to Budweiser, to Anheuser-Busch, on account of them losing $6 billion out of their capital account. That affects borrowing costs, and Anheuser-Busch is a capital-intensive business that operates with a lot of flow, a lot of money borrowed and paid back. And when those costs go up, that is directly off the net.
So look at the stock price. This is the 1 month graph. This doesn't, I mean, you can see that something happened, but it doesn't look like it's this complete bloodbath, because the entire range here is only from 58 to 68 on the vertical axis. Yeah. To hear people talk about this Bud thing, you'd think that Anheuser-Busch was on the verge of going out of business.
Yeah. It also bugs me whenever one of these boycott things happen. They're like, look at all the examples of these shelves still having product on them.
Well, is there a boycott, Jack, or are people just choosing independently not to buy it because they don't want to have Dylan Mulvaney's face staring at them, and as soon as they run out of those cans, nobody's going to care? I kind of think beer drinkers don't care all that much.
Yeah.
Their market share was on a downswing to begin with, and I think that's what the impetus was for this, because eventually, like you said, people will forget, they won't care, but their exposure will have a lasting effect. Mostly subconsciously. It's pretty insidious. It's kind of the nature of advertising today. It's something I learned in advertising school, that it's kind of like the adage, no press is bad press. Some instances, because like I said, the topic itself, the whole thing about Mulvaney will disappear, but people will remember the name Bud Light more, and I think that their price will sort of taper off into a medium.
It's a nudge, is what it is.
Yeah, it starts off with a little bit of, hey, let's get people riled up and talking about it. Then it'll sort of slowly fade away, but the effects will remain on some level. the only things that have really had lasting pushback tend to not even survive.
Well, I remember a world before light beer. Skep probably knows what I'm talking about too.
I remember when the first light beers came out. Yeah,
I think the first one was Miller Lite, wasn't it?
Miller Lite.
And
that's the first one I was aware of.
They made a big deal out of it, and they started making money in this. So of course, Bud got in on the whole thing, and Budweiser already. Okay, if you like Bud, fine. It's an extremely pale malt beverage.
It's a sour pale lager made from rice.
And there's rice in it, which sort of mellows it out. But that's in German purity laws. That is a no bueno. I mean, as far as the Germans are concerned, this isn't even beer.
Beer, right?
This is verboten.
And they make a big deal out of it being beechwood aged. That just means that some guy wearing a lab coat occasionally walks up to a giant tank of beer that's being made and sprinkles some beechwood chips in each one. It's not beechwood aged in the sense that it's sitting and aging in a barrel made out of beechwood or anything crazy like that.
Those are in silver vats.
Yeah, it's
Big
all
stainless
just
steel vats.
It's all just gimmicky and really not to my taste. I guess if you want something that's not going to make you as fat or make you as stupid, that's got less food value and less alcohol in it. I mean, if you want to spend a lot of time wearing a path between your seat and your bathroom, a Bud Light is a perfectly good vehicle for that to happen. I'm still trying to think of. They say that frats were a big part of their business, and my experience with such things is people would usually buy whatever inexpensive beer was decent and buy it in large quantities. So you'd get like your Carling, Black Label, your Big Mouth, Old Milwaukee, Schlitz, Hams. I think Schmidt,
Sky Blue Waters.
Schmidt was one of my favorites. Not because I didn't drink it, but what was great about it is it comes in like a 24 pack with pictures of animals that you could shoot while drinking their beer. So it's like here's all the animals you could shoot with your gun while you're drinking our beer in the woods. The Schmidt Sport Pack.
I do want to say I don't think that the consumer boycott will last. And it may have a lasting impact on Bud Light, but what I do think is that this target in particular for the ideological push was a terrible idea, because when I think of Bud Light, what I think of as their demo is going to be tailgaters. Because I mean, think about it, their biggest advertising campaign always happens during the Super Bowl, which is like the Mecca, which to me makes Bud Light an institution attacking its own worshippers. And what's more, their worshippers are the normie audience, and the normie audience is the group that you really don't want to piss off, because they're the ones that make all the important social movements happen.
Yeah, I think I'd rather drink Miller Lite than Bud regular, but go on.
Like Assassin mentions to me in the chat.
Schmidt Sport Pack, by the way, if you share my screen. Embiggen me.
I'm working on it.
There you go.
Yeah. See, now that's advertising. You're saying, here's a beer. You drink it when you go out into the woods to kill things. And we're going to put a picture of the kinds of things you can kill on the box in case you get drunk and confused. This is why you're here. Beer and fish.
Right.
Go ahead, Functional.
Because he said, in his advertising class, they taught him never piss off your customer base. And I don't think that the people who are truly pissed off about the whole Anheuser-Busch thing, Bud Light, aren't really the base to begin with. Like, I don't know enough about it, but that's kind of where my mind goes, because that is what it seems like. I don't think the person who generally consumes that would really give a shit.
Yeah. I think as long as I kind of think that putting a big old picture of Dylan's face is a bit much. Okay. I mean, on the one hand, if it was just sort of the advertisement it might be pretty easy to overlook it. But getting a 24-pack of Bud Light and having 24 images of Dylan Mulvaney pretending to be Audrey Hepburn, in the same sense that the Mexican bee is pretending to be a bee.
Like a 10-year-old.
You all know about Bumblebee Man, right? Or am I just...
Yes.
I mean, as featured on The Simpsons.
Did the standard Bud Light label change to Dylan Mulvaney's face? Or did he just... So it wasn't just, he didn't just receive some special edition cans from Bud Light with his face on it. It was... All of their stock features Dylan Mulvaney.
Here it is.
Impressive carrying skills, right? I got some Bud Lights for us. So, I kept hearing about this thing called March Madness.
Yeah.
And I thought we were all just having a hectic month. But it turns out it has something to do with sports. And I'm not sure exactly which sport. But either way, it's a cause to celebrate.
You know,
this month I celebrated my day 365 of womanhood, and Bud Light sent me possibly the best gift ever, a cake.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess it was just maybe that one can.
Yeah. As freaky as this guy is, I can't bring myself to hate him.
I don't hate. It's the whole don't hate the player, hate the game thing. It's like I have if Dylan wants to let his inner female flag fly, you have fun. And if these companies are dumb enough to give Dylan a bunch of money to endorse their products, which I think might be a thing that isn't going to happen anytime soon after the Budweiser thing, more power to you, dude or dudette.
He'll get on with no excuses, James.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember who was the famous person. Was the minister banger woman?
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't it was now what was her name again? It wasn't Fawn Hull. That was the secretary for Ollie North. It was the preacher, the one who had the affair with the preacher.
I'm trying to think of what his name was.
Was it Jim Baker?
No, it was not Jim Baker.
It doesn't matter. But
it was a guy from around here, as a matter of fact, or not terribly far from here.
We'll figure it out and we'll mention it like next week or on Tuesday or something. Okay. Well, anyway, this is just add this to the list of things. But while we're talking about sports, I wanted to, because we don't talk about sports enough on Saturday. We're going to talk about sports now because that's what we do apparently. Double A Rocket City Trash Pandas threw a no-hitter and lost 7-5. Now, think about this for a minute. How is it possible to throw a no-hitter and lose the game 7-5? Well,
lots of errors and walks.
Beanball.
Some of my friends call it Harry Ball, because I've long been said if you're going to walk them, you might as well hit them. One of the fun things,
that game theory.
One of the fun things about attending a sporting event is the possibility you'll see something you've never seen before. Little did the fans in attendance at the first game of a doubleheader between the Double-A Chattanooga Lookouts, a Cincinnati Reds affiliate, and the Rocket City Trash Pandas, affiliated of the Los Angeles Angels, know just how true that sentiment turned out to be on Saturday afternoon. Final score, Lookout 7, Trash Pandas 5. Nothing special so far, other than the excellent team names and logos, but look closer at the scorebox and you'll see the Lookouts recorded 0 hits. Yes, the Trash Pandas pitcher threw a collective no-hitter, but also coughed up 7 runs. Amazing and ridiculous. How did this happen? It was actually a 7-inning game, as are all minor league doubleheader games, and the Trash Pandas had a 3-0 lead heading into the 7th. The Lookouts then went walk, pop out, walk, strikeout, walk, error, 2 runs score, hit by pitch, loading the bases with a 3-3 tie, hit by pitch, walk, wild pitch, hit by pitch, strikeout. 5 hitters drew a walk, 4 hitters were plunked, and 1 reached via error.
That's just freaking I mean, you can throw ephus balls, for strikes if you need to, just to get the game over with. My God, those guys were trying to throw and they just couldn't hit the plate.
But
reminds me of that little league. I don't know if they call it little league, but soccer game where the team lost, but the other team didn't score a single goal. It's because one of the kids scored on his own net. It was cute. It was funny, but it reminds me of that.
Well, I really enjoy sort of minor league baseball. I've never been to a Major League Baseball game. I've been to over 30 minor league games.
I'm the same way with hockey. Yeah.
Yeah, I really have enjoyed the hell out of them because mascot races, absolutely. Cheap hot dogs, sure. Fancy hot dogs, barbecue. Minor league baseball is just a ton of fun.
It is. It really is. Yeah.
And
Cats are so much fun to go see.
I find it's a better product, at least with hockey, because that's what I'm familiar with. It's a better product because these kids tend to have something to prove, so they play harder, they do better, they try to do better, and it's a more exciting product. Whereas if I try to watch the NHL, I'm just like, some of these guys, they get their contracts and then they just kind of loaf, they just kind of exist in there. I'm not saying that like they're all like that. Obviously, these are some of the best, but it's not as entertaining.
Mm-hmm. No, and it is, I mean, it is about fun. I mean, I guess some people take these things really seriously, but I almost, kind of like, I wish I was a Christian sometimes because I kind of miss the cookies and the punch afterwards. I would love to enjoy Pandag because tailgating looks like a hell of a good time. I think all the real fun's in the parking lot.
Yep.
Yes. As someone who's been tailgating, yes.
Well, how often have you done this, Jack?
Oh, I've only done it a few times, but when I did do it, it was a lot of fun.
Sounds like my experience with sailing.
I don't care about football at all. But the thing is that when you go, I mean, it's like you've been to live games. It's different. It's different from when when you're actually there than when you're watching it on TV, because you can feel the energy in the air, and you don't necessarily,
it's that human contact.
Yeah, and you don't necessarily need to be super into the game to have a good time there. And the tailgating is sort of just an extension of that.
Yeah. Entirely right. Yeah.
No, I like games like this, Farm League, Minor League, whatever you want to call it, AA, AAA, and some of them really are fun. Like different teams that you can get, like the Fort Wayne tin hats, and of course the Isotopes. Gotta love the Isotopes. I didn't even know there was a team called the Rocket City Trash Pandas until yesterday. That's an awesome name for a team.
That's just perfection.
Yeah. That's just perfection. Because first of all, just the term trash panda is hilarious.
Yes, and of course that's all we call raccoons down here. We don't call them raccoons. We call them trash pandas. Everybody calls them trash pandas. Yeah, that's a very Texas term. As a matter of fact.
They are really annoying.
Yes,
I occasionally run into some of the larger ones, and you'll look at them
feed
and
one, you get what you deserve.
I'm not going to feed a trash panda. But they kind of look at you like, "Are you serious? Do you really want me to leave?" Fine, they very grudgingly will sort of go along with what you tell them to do if you do it loudly enough and persistently enough. But
get your shotgun out there, cock it, and fire it in the air a couple of times. That'll scare them off.
Yeah,
what our president says.
Can we just label them vermin and just start,
blasting away?
Yeah, I once saw
it's not a blasting.
We actually have legitimate mountain men here in California. There are some pretty ghetto mountain parts of California. I ran into this guy once. He was like this old-timey mountain guy, and he had a big old long kind of beard, right? And I was talking to this guy briefly, and then it took me a moment to realize that he had like a baby trash panda crawling around in his beard. He just was walking around like that with just like a baby raccoon just sort of nesting in his beard.
That's a big beard.
Well, it was a very small panda. I guess raccoon, but he was just doing that. That was just a normal day for him. He also, I asked him about that. He said, "Oh, that's okay. I got a snake in my pocket too." I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
He likes it in there. It's warm.
Yeah.
I'll just take your word for it, dude. I don't like where this conversation's going.
I think the reason why we don't go after the trash pandas is because they do the cute little human things with their hands.
Yeah, opposable thumbs, not a good idea in an animal. It's a good thing that some dogs don't have opposable thumbs. That would be bad. Yeah, we don't want to do that. Hey, Jack, tell me something I don't know.
46 ounce bag.
Shit.
No, I
have no idea.
Just tell me something I don't know. Just tell me. Just surprise me. Just tell me. Teach me something that I don't know. Just tell me something.
You'll have to give me a moment.
Don't think about Harry. What's something you recently learned about that you were kind of like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh God, all I can think of is my job, and I don't want to talk about my job. Oh.
You don't have to. I mean, there was this thing, but I was going to cover it, but then the Lotus Eaters covered it, which was Tax Heaven 3000.
Oh yeah,
the dating sim game for doing your taxes.
Fuck.
Yeah, that's right. And you have to give it your social security number.
Maybe we should label weebs vermin as well and just start blasting.
It covers the 1040 U.S. individual income tax return. She's there to help you. Checks eligibility for earned income tax credit. I mean, who are we kidding? Anybody who thinks this is a good idea probably isn't going to have kids to be eligible for the earned income tax credit. Suitable for singles without dependency. Now, this shows you that they understand what their target audience is. That earned income tax credit is completely missing the mark. It should come with like a coupon for frozen pizza. Like, there she is helping you with your taxes. But we're not going to talk about that.
That is not happening. I mean, it's like the like a certain literary club.
I question if I should show this to my dad because he's an accountant.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what his reaction to this would be. It would probably just be like general disappointment in the universe.
You mean like that?
Yes, much like that.
Oh, it's from Quebec. Ugh.
Yeah.
How dare you?
I think we, I'm just looking at some of the leftovers that we've got. We did actually cover this. Opera singer 33 suffered botched episiotomy. That led to episiotomy, sorry. That led to excessive flatulence and left her unable to perform. Did we cover this? Functional?
Not today.
I don't think so.
Oh, well, there was an opera singer.
Christian?
Yeah, she, episiotomy is pretty common after birth. And she got one, but unfortunately she's an opera singer, and it left her in a state where she had uncontrollable flatulence when she was trying to perform.
I'm just getting a mental image. She tries to get up on stage and starts to say,
And surprising nobody, Skep, this happened at a military hospital. An opera singer has claimed a military nurse carried out an unnecessary episiotomy on her during childbirth, leaving her with incontinence and flatulence so bad she was unable to perform. Amy Herbst, 33, alleged in a lawsuit filed against the government on Monday that nurse midwife Tiffany Williams carried out the procedure without her consent and subsequently damaged her digestive and reproductive systems. This is one of the more interesting I can't work, so give me money claims I think I've run into.
Yeah, when you go in and are cared for delivery, you have signed away your right to refuse an episiotomy unless you insist on that before the procedure and they specially prepare documents for you. I've been through the birth thing once or twice. And that's the way that works in Texas.
This seems more like it was not done correctly. Because I believe that episiotomy...
She may have a malpractice claim.
Yeah, absolutely.
If the nurse did it wrong, then it's a problem. If the nurse didn't do it wrong, then she is not going to win on. I don't believe that she's going to have much.
I think she'd have
the legalistic part.
I think she'd have to prove that like it was it did cause this flatulence problem or whatever. Because, you know, generally
that may have
most
been
procedures don't really do that to women, or else, you know.
That's probably provided as the standard of care. It's probably prescribed as the standard of care. Baby's head's too big. Okay, make an episiotomy. The first one you do is that the one that she cut is called the midline posterior episiotomy. There's actually four locations that are commonly done. Just depends on the surgeon, and that's a weird one because it is known for complications, although it's really efficient and it's a good way to widen that. But man, and to have a nurse do that, usually you have an MD do that.
This
if
was
she's a
it.
nurse practitioner, they might do it, a really experienced nurse practitioner. But
Fort Campbell, Kentucky, Skep.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, so that's a thing that happened.
I get my health care from the VA, dude.
I know.
It's such as it is. Bless their hearts. Bless their hearts.
Yeah, good times. So did you hear about this, Skep? I know we didn't cover this.
Starting in July, an Orwellian ordinance is forcing certain Houston businesses to install surveillance cameras to record all their outdoor property and turn the video footage over to the police without a warrant. Businesses, including convenience stores, bars, must pay for the cameras, archive the footage for at least 30 days, and when police make a request, the businesses will have only 3 days to turn over the footage. What if they don't comply? Well, that'll be a fine of $500 per day. This insane law violates the Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights of business owners and their customers. Sadly, Houston isn't the only city looking to exploit private surveillance cameras.
Yeah, so it's not just that if you have cameras, they can take your footage from you without a court order, but that they're requiring you to install the cameras and maintain video records for 30 days, whether you choose to or not.
Approve the ordinance that requires security cameras outside certain businesses. And under that ordinance, it's bars, nightclubs, sexually oriented businesses, convenience stores, and game rooms must have cameras outside. Think about who this is going to affect. Think about how this disproportionately affects the small entrepreneur as opposed to the 7-Eleven down the street that's owned by Southland Corporation. That's just a minor expense. This is going to pass a cost on to all of these places. I don't doubt that it might make things a bit safer, and they're having a huge problem with crime in Houston because guess why? And we're not going to say the
red seekers.
Yeah, my friends, red seekers.
That's a good thing.
Well played.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that's what's going on with that. The Houston City Council is very frustrated at this point, and the police are coming back to them and saying, we've got to have some help. We've got, we can't find out what's going on. There's just too many things going on, and this is an effort in that regard. I think it's well-meaning, but it's libertarian. Of course, I hate it.
Yeah, it's these people. They know it's unconstitutional. They have to know it's unconstitutional.
Oh, sure,
There's no recourse for when these people make unconstitutional laws.
What does it violate? What part of the Constitution does it violate?
Unreasonable search and seizure.
Fourth Amendment.
She mentioned the Fourth Amendment in the brief. If this was all voluntary, if you simply
Fourth Amendment's all penumbra, just so everybody remembers. Okay, thank you.
So Jack, if you were a business owner and you were in Houston and there's all this crime and stuff, you would probably be more than willing to install the cameras yourself, more than likely. Maybe not every business owner, but most of them, right? Because it's in your best interest to do that. And as far as the footage goes, if the police are making reasonable requests, you don't want crime and stuff on the street, and they ask for the footage, you would probably just give it to them more often than not. It's the fact that they want 100% coverage and that they're forcing people to comply. A number of these places really don't necessarily want these cameras because it might actually deter their business. If you got a rub and tug going, all they really have usually is a camera facing outward so they know if they're about to get raided.
Yeah.
Other than that, they customers who are going to these kinds of places don't necessarily want there to be a video record because, you know, they're engaged in some sort of illicit activity. So there are going to be some businesses, especially in the adult stuff, that don't necessarily want to have these cameras set up in ways that make their customers feel unwelcome or threatened.
Plus, I mean, it would make pretty interesting. It would make for pretty interesting blackmail if you wanted to get something out of one of these businesses. Oh, by the way, you have all this private clientele. Would be a shame if we saw what was on your videos.
Yeah, well, let's not talk about the license plate readers on all the the tow trucks.
That's exactly where I was going to go. License plate readers or having AI scan the tapes. Maybe have AI scan the tapes while they're being made, just to detect any crimes in case the police miss anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you know, and in fact, just everybody wear cameras that are surgically installed.
You know,
So
if we want to stop
we can
hate
be
speech.
sure.
If you want to stop hate speech, what they should really do is just let the government, without a warrant, activate the microphone on your cell phone at any time they want and just listen in. You've got nothing to hide, there won't be an issue.
Exactly. If
But
you've
all
got
those...
nothing to hide, there won't
Yeah,
be.
but you know, if you're one of those people that drinks a little bit too much Bud Light and then uses the N-word with a hard R at the end when referring to Dylan Mulvaney or something, after drinking too many Schmidt sport packs or whatever, you want to be able to capture that. I mean, what are you, in favor of hate speech?
I've since developed the opinion that if someone tells me that a law won't be used for that, no, it won't be used for that reason, then I'm now of the opinion that not only is that that is the reason that they make that law.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to predict how a law will be used, just count all the lists of things that the list of things that people say it won't be used for.
It's not a bug, Jack. It's a feature.
It's a feature. So we've gone 2 hours.
Spent 2 hours of your life listening to us. Are you better for it?
Yeah, and since I just spent the last week installing $500,000 of the equipment, mostly by myself, I'm going to call it. This has been your Minions of the Zoo for Saturday. Thank you, Jack, for joining us tonight. Thank you, panel. Thank you, chat. The zoo is closed. Good night.
Good night,
everybody. Thank you, chat. Take care.